We are live. Welcome back to the Sports Sesh podcast. I'm your host, Mason Chatwell, and my co-host is James Evans. And we're back. We've had a couple of weeks off, but we're here to talk about something that's happened quite recently, including the Euros. We're also talking about the UFC that's happening this weekend. But let's get straight into the Euro. James, England's into a final. Give me your thoughts.
It's mind-blowing, honestly, because the last time we were in a major final on an international scale, my parents weren't even born. And that's saying something. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, you look at us in the World Cup semi-final against Croatia. We took the lead early on through Kieran Trippier. And then as soon as we conceded the leveler to Perisic, I believe it was, we just dropped our heads. And last night, we went a goal down, and usually any normal England team would have bottled that. I just thought after the goal, for the first 20 minutes, we were all over them. And then as soon as they scored, we dropped our heads a bit, lost a bit of composure, was giving the ball away a bit too easily for my liking. And then, like I said, any other England team would have lost that. But to come back the way they did, in sheer, fantastic fashion, was unbelievable. And I don't care if rival nations are like, oh, but it wasn't a penalty. You rode your line. Well, I don't care. We won. We won. I don't care how we did it. We won at the end of the day. Like, you can be as salty and as sour as you want. We are in the final. And throughout Southgate's tenure so far, I've been very, very critical of him. I've just not been too sure. But then when you sit back and you look at it, he's guided us to two major semi-finals, and now obviously one, we got to the final. So you've got to give him his dues, because when else that happened, back-to-back semi-finals and now a final, like in his first two major tournaments. Like I said, I was very critical of him as a tactician. I still don't think he's there, but he's a good man manager, because you hear stories whereby he tells his players before the game, look, your goal and these moments provide pictures and memories in the fans, 50 to 60 million plus for the rest of their lives, and you're going to be a part of that. And I think that's what motivates the players on the pitch. And last night, obviously we did go goal down, but I think we were exceptional at times, and then extra time to see it through was just unbelievable. And I think, like I said, towards the end of extra time, they lost their heads a bit. Denmark, they just ran out of answers, but I don't care. We're in the final, and roll on Italy. And I think, judging by their last game against Italy, although we weren't convincing ourselves, Italy, they really weren't great against Spain. So 60,000 plus at Wembley Sunday, bring it on.
Yeah, I think after last night's game, I remember when the first goal in, my heart was in my mouth, and I thought, no, not again. I was having flashbacks from 3 years ago, and then we got the equaliser just before the end of the first half, and I thought, you know what, this could be something. And then there was a couple of chances in the second half, but in that first half of extra time, we deserved it. And the penalty, I know there's been people that's been saying it wasn't a penalty. It was soft, but at the end of the day, it was a penalty. That might be being a biased English fan, but in my opinion, it was a penalty. No matter how soft it was, he took him down, and yeah, we got through to the final. And with Italy as well in the next game, I don't know. It depends how Italy show up, because what I've noticed with Italy is they're very good at going forward as well. But when teams put pressure on them, that's when they seem to panic a bit. And I think if England can put the pressure on early and get one or two early goals, then it'll be our game to lose.
I think in the final, on Sunday, the key battle in this game is not only the midfield, because obviously you got Jorginho, Barella, Verratti versus Rice, Phillips, or whoever he plays. I think the wingers are going to be very key as well, because bear this in mind, obviously, Spinazzola for Italy, the left back, was injured in the quarterfinal, I believe. And I think personally he was one of the players of the tournament. And for him to be ruled out for the final, it'll be Emerson, and I can't remember at the top of my head who the right back is. I forgot. Apologise to the Italians, but I don't really watch them. I think the wing is going to be very key. I think Sterling and Saka. I think we've got to start the same team that I started last night. And if Sterling and Saka can get at Emerson, their right back early on, I think we should be all right. I think it will be tough to break them down, no doubt, because Chiellini and Bonucci, despite their age, they're still world class on their day. They are going to be tough to break down. I think we'll benefit from having the 60,000 England fans chanting our names or chanting their names. But going forward for Italy, I'm a big fan of Chiesa, but our defence has been exceptional throughout the whole tournament. But there were signs last night which did concern me a little bit. Harry Maguire and John Stones had his moments where they sort of pushed a bit too far forward and they sort of separated at times, leaving gaps in behind for the Danish. And that was the Danish. Like, if they can capitalise, I'm sure the Italians will. But I think if we play our game and we put 110% in, we can beat the Italians. I think, like I said, the key battle is going to be in midfield and out wide.
100%. I think no matter what, I think Sunday, it's for both sets of fans, it's going to be a nervous game for the first 10, 15 minutes, I think. But I think the team that gets the first goal will be able to calm the nerves a bit. And again, it's probably me being biased, but I honestly think England can if we put the pressure on. That's what we need to do. And I think we need to start we'll probably need to start Jadon Sancho, because I noticed when he came on the other game, I think it was against Ukraine, you don't.
No, I don't think he was great against Ukraine. He was all right. Saka and Sterling getting ahead of him, in my opinion. I think Sterling's been, bar Luke Shaw, you can say Raheem Sterling's probably been our player of the tournament. And Bukayo Saka, I had my doubts because obviously I'm a Chelsea fan. I really don't like Arsenal, but he is by far their best player. Every time Bukayo Saka has started, his work rate and his sort of desire to get the ball up the pitch and sort of create chances for the England team is second to none. I think he's gone under the radar slightly. Bukayo Saka, I think he's been exceptional every time he's started. And personally, it's got to be Sterling and Saka. I don't want to see. I love Sancho to bits. Don't get me wrong. And I think now he may get more chances now that he's in the Premier League again, because I think he went under the radar a bit in the Bundesliga. Personally, I think because obviously over the last couple of years we tend to predominantly start players who play in the Premier League, and we sort of overlook the Bundesliga, the Serie A, and what have you. But I think now that Jadon Sancho's back in the Premier League, I think it'll be a big sort of wake-up call for Gareth, just to say, look, going forward, Jadon Sancho will be part of your plans and he could get the start. But I think for the final, you've got to keep the same team. I'm sorry, you cannot change anything. But I know Gareth is very unpredictable with his team lineups, but because I think he's changed it pretty much throughout the whole tournament. But now, come Sunday, you've got to keep the same team, in my opinion. As much as I rate Sancho, I don't think he deserves to start.
There's been a couple of games, I'm going to mention Grealish. There's been the first couple of games that he ended up playing in, I was impressed, but the past couple, I've not been that impressed. Last night, I wasn't impressed by Grealish when he was, for the time he was on the pitch. And I think I see a lot of people boasting just because they think we should start Grealish, but I think after what we've seen last night, unless we're winning, I don't see why we should put Grealish on.
No, I'm totally on board. Like, I don't think Grealish should start. However, I do think he deserves to play. I think when our opponents start to tire and we need fresh legs coming on, Jack Grealish is the perfect man to come on. All right, he wasn't great last night, but the whole team had spells last night where we weren't great. And I think, I don't know whether it was tactical or whether he was injured when he got taken off in extra time, but I don't know. I think he should come off and play some part against Italy, because on his day, he's a quality player. Like, it's just the way he his first touch, you think it's bad, but it just sort of takes it away from the midfielder or the defender or the opposing team, and then he'll immediately win a free kick or two. And that's what we need. Someone to just sort of get the crowd going and create chances and just sort of get the team up the pitch. So I think he's the perfect man to bring on. I don't think he should start, though.
Tell you someone I think that I don't think he should start, but I think he should get brought on at like end of the second half, around the 60, 70 minute mark. Phil Foden. I know he didn't play much last night, but I was impressed with what he managed to do in the short time he was on. I don't think he should start, but I do think he should come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because going into the tournament, everyone was saying how he was going to be the breakout star of the tournament. And I think bar Croatia, he hasn't really had many outstanding games. He's just been in and out of the team since. I think I'm in total agreement with you. I think he deserves to come on and play that 20 to half an hour, because as soon as we bring Phil Foden on, like, we're gonna get chances. I'm a big fan of him going forward. He will be a top player. And it's just the way he, like again, similar to Grealish, just the way he drives forward, wins fouls, and he's just so agile on the ball. And I think we do need someone like him off the bench. But personally, I can't see him starting on Sunday.
No, I don't think he should start. But before we go on to the UFC, I'm going to get a final prediction from you, James. What score's the game going to be on Sunday night?
I think it goes to penalties.
No, I don't.
I think we'll win on penalties. I think we'll get frustrated a lot because the Italians at the back, they're just so stable and just so strong, and they've got the leadership, and it really will be tough for us to break them down. It really will be tough. I think we'll either win on penalties or I think it will definitely go to extra time, because I think going forward, personally, they don't really pose that much of a threat. I mean, Immobile, Chiesa and Berardi and Insigne, I just think we'll be able to handle them, because we need some pacey players at the back, and I think Walker will be fine against Insigne. Personally, I think he's been okay. He's made a few mistakes, but I think Kyle Walker will be fine. And as long as Pickford has a blinder, I'm happy, because in the last 2 games, he has nerved me a little bit with some of his distribution from the back. I mean, his kicking is atrocious. Like, he'll just swing for the bleachers and hope it goes as far as possible. But yeah, I think it will go to extra time, personally, because I think we'll really will struggle to break him down. But like I said, in the last game against Spain, I really didn't think they were great. Like, I genuinely believe that. I think, bar the first goal, obviously they went 1-0 up, and then from then on in, they were on the back foot. I think they were on the back foot for most of the game. I thought Spain were the better team, personally. And we've seen holes from the Austria game onwards. We've seen holes in the Italians' game, and I'm probably sure they've seen holes in our game as well. But I think I'm a little bit more confident now after seeing the Italians on Tuesday, and I really think we can get the job done. But it is coming home. That's a fact. But I think it will come home on penalties, I'm afraid.
Well, I think it's going to be a really tight game. And to be honest, I know I said whoever gets the early goal will control it, but I think there's only going to be 1 goal in the game. I think it's going to be a 1 to England.
I don't know. It'll be tough to do a 1-0.
Before we get on to the UFC, James, is football coming home?
Absolutely, mate. Excuse my French, but it is.
Let's get straight on to UFC. I'm just going to pull the card up now. There's 5 fights, like I said, that I wanted to talk about. First one, Nico Price and Michelle Pereira. Tell you what, I think this is one that I'm, bar the main co-main and Taito Ivasa, I think this is the fight I'm most looking forward to, just because the totally unpredictable Michelle Pereira, I won't be surprised if you see a backflip or something in the cage. And Nico Price, he's just on another level, and I don't know who's going to come out on top. I'm edging towards a Pereira decision, but I think this fight's going to be fight of the night.
It will certainly be up there. I think it'll be the one to watch out of the whole prelims. I'm a big fan of Pereira. It's weird. It's just when I say a big fan, I like watching him. I don't, forget about everything else and forget about who's for. I just think come fight night, he's always bringing something new to the table, and he's just so entertaining to watch. Nico Price, obviously, he's been a bit up and down recently. I think he's coming off of that draw against Cowboy Cerrone, I believe, at the top of my head. So
yeah.
I'm thoroughly looking forward to it, because, like I said, both men are going to bring it. Both men are going to be looking for the finish and looking to put on a real spectacle for the fans, because this is the first time this year it'll be a full capacity in Las Vegas. The return of the first time this year. So at the T-Mobile Arena, so I'm looking forward to it, and they'll want to put on a show for the fans. They'll want the performance or the fight of the night bonus. So they're going to bring it. I personally, I'm leaning towards Pereira by a finish in the second round. I genuinely think Pereira is just so unpredictable in his game going forward, and then on the defense as well. I think wherever the fight goes, he'll be comfortable. Nico Price, he just still hasn't. I've not really been convinced by Nico Price, and I just feel as if Pereira will be able to put him away in the second.
Well, another fight that I want to talk about, Sean O'Malley and Chris Martino. I don't know much about Chris, but I'm saying an O'Malley first round knockout, just because he's coming in 10 days notice.
Sean O'Malley as well.
I don't see him being able to. Like I said, I don't know much about Chris, but I don't see him being able to pose much of a threat to Sean. I think after that loss to Vera, obviously he never lost, as he's saying, but I think it sparked something in him, and I think I really wanted to see the Smoker fight, because it would have been good to see him against another person.
It would have been a tougher test.
Yeah, but if I I would have put him against someone like Ricky Simone, because apparently Ricky Simone was wanting the fight, but I don't know what gone on there. But I'm happy that we've still got Sean on the card.
Yeah,
I do
100%.
see Sean getting the first round TKO.
Yeah, and I think with Sean O'Malley following the defeat to Marlon Vera, I think he's got to be a bit cautious in his approach now going forward. And I think Dana White will sort of cherry pick O'Malley's opponents, if you get what I mean, just to sort of suit him now, because there's no doubt that he's going to go on to be a big star. Like, I'm a huge fan of Sugar Sean O'Malley. I mean, when he comes to fight, oh my word, he will produce these highlight reel knockouts every time he steps into the octagon. So, and we're all for it. Like, we all love to see it. So I think now going forward, I think maybe after this fight, if he wins in spectacular fashion, he will probably get a ranked opponent next. I think with O'Malley coming into this weekend, obviously, like you said, I would love to have seen the Smoker fight, but I think now it's just good that we still have him on the card. And to open up the main card for UFC 264, I think fans is just going to be so entertained by the fact that O'Malley's back in the cage, and he's going to be doing something. He's going to be doing everything he does in terms of his approach going forward in the fight with Chris Moutinho is going to be so unpredictable. He's going to want that highlight reel knockout. And if he doesn't get the highlight reel knockout, then obviously he's going to be very disappointed in his performance. But I think to step up in 10 days' notice, and I've seen a couple of embedded videos with Chris Moutinho who said, look, I was happy to step up. I want to provide for my family. I respect that, because no one wants to step in on 10 days' notice against Sean O'Malley. So to do that, I'll give him his dues. But I think Sean O'Malley will come in with another sensational knockout and finish him in the first.
100%. And another fight I think that's a knockout is the heavyweight clash between Tai Tuivasa and Greg Hardy. And I'm a fan of Greg Hardy. I want to see him do well, because it's someone from another sport coming in to MMA, and I want to see someone like that do well, but I see him getting past Tai Tuivasa, to be honest.
Oh, God, it's going to be tough. I think with Tai Tuivasa, I think he came into the UFC undefeated, and then as soon as he fought the bigger guys and the top contenders, he sort of fell short a bit. And he's like Sean O'Malley in a way in terms of his opponents. I think he still needs a bit more time just to work up the ladder again. I think his last fight was against Struve, I believe, where he knocked him out. I think he just needs, with Tuivasa, he needs to work his way up a bit more. And I think a win over Greg Hardy and maybe another win against like a ranked fighter, but like a low ranked fighter, or maybe someone on the verge of being ranked, win over that, and then sort of fight the top 10 or the top 15 guys from then on. I think he needs to take his time, and he certainly learned a lot from those defeats to Blagoyev and all the bigger fighters, and coming back into the UFC, it's such a breath of fresh air. Like, I love watching Tai Tuivasa because it's just his personality and his ability to knock people out. I mean, he will punch the living daylights out of you, and you will get put to sleep if he connects. So I'm a big fan of seeing Tai Tuivasa. As for Greg Hardy, again, we've seen glimpses of Greg Hardy. I mean, I was fair play to him when he stepped in on short notice for the Volkov fight. You know, no one wants to step in against Volkov on short notice. I mean, it will be to go from being like completely non-ranked to fight on one of the top 5, top 10 guys at heavyweight is ridiculous. So you've got to give Greg Hardy his dues. You can tell just by that mentality that he's taking mixed martial arts seriously, and I respect that. But it really will be tough to get past Tai Tuivasa, and I think someone's going to get knocked out in this fight, and I think Tai Tuivasa will get the victory this weekend.
Yeah, I think just because of the size of each guy and the power that possesses, whoever lands first, I don't think it's coming out of the first round, and I think Tai Tuivasa gets it by the first round.
I agree.
And obviously there's two more fights. The co-main event, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Gilbert Junior Burns. I tell you what, this fight, I really don't know on how it's going to go. I think it's going to go the full 15, but I don't know. I don't know who's going to have the upper hand. Striking, Wonderboy, ground Burns, but I don't know if Burns going to be able to get it to the ground. I don't know what you think about the fight.
I think I'm in agreement with you. I think it will go the decision. I think if Stephen Thompson can, dictate the pace early on and control proceedings, I think he'll be able to I don't think he'll want to be too sort of reckless in his approach. I think he'll keep the striking exchanges. I think he'll control them. I think he'll be very educated in his approach in the striking exchanges, because Gilbert Burns, he hits hard as well. You see in the Kamaru Usman fight where he dropped him or clipped him. So the power is there from Gilbert Burns. So I think Stephen Thompson is going to be wary of that. So I think he's going to use his karate stance and unpredictable striking approach, just to sort of control proceedings and keep the fight at bay. And I think as soon as it gets to the fence or in the clinch, and I think that's where Gilbert Burns will eventually try and take the fight to the floor. And it'll be interesting to see if Sim can cope with that. Because I think if the fight goes to the floor, Gilbert Burns will control the fight for the full 15. With Thompson, like I said, if he can win these striking exchanges, I think he'll win it. I honestly don't know. It's a real pick and fight, isn't it? Because it's like, they say styles make fights, where obviously you got the high striker on one end and you got the grappler on the other. So it just depends. If Thompson can control the range, I think he'll be fine. So I'm going to go for Thompson by decision, but it's tough. It really is a close one, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. What a co-main event we have.
Oh, 100%. That's who I mentioned it towards. I think Thompson will get the decision, but only very slight. I think it could even be a split decision, depending how close the fight could end up being. But
it will be close.
Striking exchanges, if he can win them, then I do see Thompson being able to come out on top and get the win. But if it goes to the ground, I've got no doubt that Burns could. No, I don't know if he'll submit him, but I think he'll be able to control it. But the reason why we're all tuning in this weekend, Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I think this fight's going to go the distance. I think
that's a shout.
I think both guys are going to be very wary. I think Poirier, as much as he got the win last time out, I do think he's not going to be stupid in his approach, because as we've seen, Dustin Poirier over the past 7-8 years since the last fight, he's improved massively and he's grown up a lot as a fighter. But with Conor as well, I'm hoping he's made the necessary adjustments, and
I think he has.
I think he has, but we never know, because for the past 3-4 camps we've heard off Conor, it's been the best camp of his life, and then the next one after, I didn't put that much effort in. I don't know if this really has been the best camp of his career. Then so be it. Let's see the new Conor, and I'm gonna go for a Conor decision, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Poirier comes out on top again.
No, and that's a very good shout. I think for the last week or so, I was leaning towards a decision. Excuse me. I was leaning towards a decision, but now over the last couple of days or so, I think we'll get a finish. With Dustin Poirier, if he wins this weekend, I really will not be upset, because he's this absolute stud. Personally, I think he's the uncrowned lightweight champion. I think he's the best in the division right now, personally. You can disagree with me as much as you want, or the MMA fans can disagree with me as much as they want. That's my opinion. I really think he's the best lightweight in the division. That being said, you look at McGregor, sort of reminiscent of Diaz too. I think from pictures I've seen, from the looks of it, he's gotten rid of the boxing coaches, because I haven't seen any of them anywhere. You look at his training camp pictures; they've been nowhere to be seen, and I'm all for that, because in his last couple of interviews, he said he was preparing for Manny Pacquiao, and he had those the boxing coaches in, just to prepare for a boxing fight, and that's why we saw the boxing approach against Dustin Poirier, which didn't work. And I think in that fight, although he did not he looked a shadow of his former self, there were glimpses from McGregor in the trading exchanges, and I think it's typical McGregor fashion. I think if he can go out there and keep Poirier backed up against the fence and win those striking exchanges and keep Poirier guessing as to what's going to be next for McGregor, then maybe he can win. I think counter striking McGregor is going to play a big factor in this weekend. I just don't know. I think it's going to be very tough to call. I don't think Poirier might have something up his sleeve. I think the leg kicks, I don't think he planned for those leg kicks. I just think they were there for the taking, just because of how crap McGregor's approach was for the second one. I think, if there's a reason to exploit the calf kicks and the leg kicks, go for it. Do some damage with the legs. I think now, I don't think he's going to take that approach and adopt that approach, because McGregor is going to be more prepared for a mixed martial arts bout. So he's going to come out guns blazing. I think it's the same with any McGregor fight. I personally believe he's got 10 minutes to knock him out, and then from then on in, it's anyone's game, because we see Poirier come into his own from the third round onwards, because he is a cardio machine. He can go for days and still not get put away. I think one thing that does fill me with some sort of confidence is that Poirier is very, very hittable. You look, like I said in the last fight, McGregor had his moments. Like I said, although he wasn't great, He did land a couple of shots. And that wasn't, that was sort of McGregor's awkward boxing style. So I think if we had that traditional karate stance or that weird MMA stance, I think he'll be able to catch him and clip him. I don't know. It could be the bias within me. Like I said, I'm going to back McGregor until the day he retires, because on this day he's sensational, and I think there's a lot at stake for him this weekend. I think this will be, if he wins, this will be his biggest win of his professional career, because if he loses, that could be it. What else is there if he loses? I don't think he'll get a title shot anytime soon. So I think going into this weekend, it's all or nothing for McGregor. He has to get the win by any means necessary. Like, he'll have to get even if he gets a decision, so be it. He's just got to get the win. And I just think Poirier, he's looking in good shape right now. I've seen videos and clips of him. He's looking great, and I'm sure he's definitely prepared. He's got great coaches around him. Mike Brown at ATT, they're very tactical in their approach, and I'm a big fan of them. But I think if McGregor reverts back to that MMA stance and that karate stance, I think he might get it. I just don't know. I mean, like I said, it's McGregor bias within me. I'm going to go for McGregor in the second. But obviously, this weekend, the safe bet is just to put all your money on Poirier again.
100%. I think if Conor loses, the only fight that I see him getting is a Diaz trilogy.
Yeah.
If
100%.
After that, this is make or break for Conor. If he loses, he might even just call it quits there.
But then he thrives off of those fights. Every time he loses, he comes back stronger than ever. And you look at the Diaz rematch, everyone wrote him off. Everyone thought he was done after the first one. And look at what he did. He won that fight convincingly. So I think this weekend we might see a new one. I think in his head, he knows this could be it if he loses. So I think he's going to be very MMA. He's going to have that MMA approach, and he's going to have his head screwed on and his head switched on. I think going forward in the fight, he's going to want to do whatever it takes to win. I think it can happen, but we'll have to wait and see. So I just don't know with McGregor anymore.
100%. I'm going for a McGregor decision, but that's everything I had planned for today. Only a short one, but I'm sure we'll be doing a reaction episode sometime next week. And remember, everyone, football's coming home. Take care, everyone.